Hello, my name is Alicia, and today I'm going to show you how to understand the DORA and ADAM reports on your parent portal. The first thing you're going to want to do is log in under Teacher Parent Login at letsgolearn.com. So we'll click here, and you're going to enter your student's login information. So their username, which for this student is their first initial, last initial, and their student ID number. That may or may not be the case for your child. Then you want to have their password, you'll enter that, and you will enter their school code. Their school code should be the name of their school district, or a shortened code that represents the school name or school district name. So you'll log in, and this will take you to your student's login page. This is what your child sees, and we're going to come here to Parent Portal. From here, we will choose the report that matches your student, what you're looking for. So we're going to start with the DORA. This will give you all of your students' information from their first assessment all the way to their most recent assessment using Let's Go Learn for DORA, the Diagnostic Online Reading Assessment. Today we're going to look at this student's first assessment, and we're going to come to the parent report. Here you're going to see how your student reads words. This is a summary of their decoding ability. So we can see here that this student has mastered high frequency words. They've mastered the word recognition and phonics. So the green check mark means that this student is at or above grade level, within range. You know, they may be a little bit below grade level, but nothing to worry about. Then this tells us this student needs to work on spelling. So the spelling subtest is below grade level, and while the student can spell words like confidently, they are having trouble spelling words like equipment. You can see that they missed a vowel in there. Their oral vocabulary is within range, as well as their reading comprehension. And what you can see here is that this student struggles more with inferential questions than with factual questions. Then it gives you a little bit of additional detail about their phonics skills. We can see for this student, the only section that they missed were multisyllable words. And these are some examples of the multisyllable words they would have been assessed on. You can see in general, when I said that they had mastered high frequency words, this shows you, okay, they received a score of 3.83, which is the max score. And then they're close to mastering phonics. They received a 4.5, and the max score is a 4.83. And this student was at the beginning of 5th grade when they took the assessment. Spelling is at a 3rd grade level, oral vocabulary, end of 5th grade, and reading comprehension was at the end of 7th grade. Now, I do want to point out for you, when you're looking at this assessment, word recognition, we can see here, is at a 12th grade level. You do want to be aware that this does not mean that they should be reading 12th grade words. What it just means is that they're able to recognize words at a 12th grade level. So in a 12th grade text, they could identify what the words were, but it doesn't mean that they understand the meaning of the words. Really, for meaning, you want to check, you know, a combination of word recognition and oral vocabulary. That will give you a better idea if they understand the words in the text. As well, with comprehension and oral vocabulary, we separate these in the assessment. So you want to make sure that if your child has a higher reading comprehension score than you might expect, you want to check on their oral vocabulary to see if the text that you're using with them is appropriate. So for example, for this student, they probably would be working at text at the end of 5th grade level as opposed to at the 7th grade level. But what this does show you is that you should be reading text at the 7th grade or above level with your child that is what's appropriate for them for listening and for discussion. But if you are just expecting them to do it on their own, you want to work more within a range that's closer to their vocabulary level. You do want to make sure that you're giving them stories and books and articles that increase their vocabulary. So that's the basics of the DORA parent report. Now let's go on to ADAM. So we're going to go here to assessments, and we're going to check out ADAM K7. Now this ADAM assessment is appropriate for all the way up to high school, but it is looking at the material that students are expected to learn before they start pre-algebra or algebra. So this really gets into the details. So we're going to look at this student, their most recent assessment. They took this when they were in 5th grade. And we're going to check out the progress report. This is going to give you the details that you need to know how to help your student. So we'll check here on progress. And you can actually build a report that compares their progress over time, but we're going to just stick with one report. So we will view this. Up here, what you will see kind of gives you an idea of the adaptive logic and the way that the report works. So how you get the grade level score. So for example, in numbers and operations, this child knows 49 different concepts, which puts him at a 4th grade level. So during the course of 4th grade, they're learning skills 42 through 61. And so he's right near the beginning of that range. So that's why his grade level score is 4th grade. Now overall, we can see, all right, in algebra, each area has a different number of concepts. So numbers and operations contains the bulk of the concepts, whereas measurement and data analysis and algebra have, quite a bit less, as does geometry. But overall, there are 271 concepts that are covered in Let's Go Learn ADAM assessment. And that's how many concepts students are expected to know. Foundational skills they're expected to know by the end of 7th grade. Now, we know this student's strength is algebra. They're within grade level. And really where the student is weakest is in measurement. So we're going to actually look into measurement and see, what does the student need to work on? What could you as a parent work on with your child if this was your child? So we can see that this student has mastered numbers. All skills of this subtest have been mastered. Place value, however, has a red X because their score right now is below grade level. They were in the middle of 5th grade. They have a 4th grade score. However, because the 2 arrows here, which indicate their next level of concept, what they should be working on next, because that's black, that means, okay, they might not be there yet, so I wouldn't worry about it. However, here in comparing and ordering, that's red. That means that they've missed something. Their next step is comparing and ordering decimals. So, they need to work on that before they move on. That is the last concept in comparing and ordering. It's also the last concept. Decimals is the last concept in place value. So they need to really understand this first before they move on to the place value of decimals. So this is something that they should work on. Like I said, we're going to scroll down into measurement to really look at what is an area this student really needs to work on. And what we see here is that this child understands money and time, but not temperature. So over here you can see a less than 2. That's their score. The green area is their score. Less than 2 means they did not get any of the concepts in this topic, in this subtest. So the first thing that this student was assessed on was demonstrating understanding of thermometer. We can see a little minus over here. That means that this student did not understand this concept and did not show mastery on the assessment. And because of that, their score was a less than 2, because this is the first concept, it's a 2nd grade concept. Now for temperature, the next concept after that is reading the thermometer. And that's a 3rd grade concept. There's only really 2 concepts in temperature. So in order to get this student up to mastery of temperature, 2 things that you as a parent could work on with them. Understanding a thermometer, meaning, okay, if it's filled with red, it's going to be hot out. If it's just a little bit, it's going to be cold. And then looking at the thermometer and reading those exact measurements. You can work on this with a regular thermometer, taking their own temperature, looking at the thermometers outside, and as well as understanding what those concepts mean. Now, one of the big things about this is temperature. You need to help them with both Celsius and Fahrenheit. That is what they will be expected to know, especially in science class as they hit high school. So this is a good opportunity to be working on comparing Fahrenheit with Celsius and reading those different thermometers. As well, this student needs to work on converting units. Now, there's a lot more that this student needs to work on. All of this red area, all these red arrows indicate that your child needs to work on these concepts. And so those would be concepts that you would work in order. So working on converting, customary and metric units, but first they need to understand the concepts of length. Then converting customary and metric units, or using them, then converting them. So first they need to be able to understand them, measure them, and then convert them. So this is many skills that the student needs to work on before they're able to address what they'll be learning in class. So this might be an area that you want to work on a regular basis, some discussion and practical application. And same with weight, there's fewer concepts. And then capacity and volume. So these are the measurement concepts that this student needs to work on. So I would, you don't need to worry about money. If this was your child, you wouldn't need to worry about money and time, though of course you do want to always be reinforcing those concepts. But really the student needs to work on temperature. This converting units is focused on length. So they definitely need to be working on length, and then weight and capacity and volume. And since their scores are at a below second grade level or mid second grade level in all of these areas, this would definitely be an area of focus. All right, so that's the basics of understanding this report for Adam. It tells you what concept they know. Right here, this green, so the concept the student knows is the number line for converting units. Then it shows you what they were tested on and they didn't show mastery. That's the minus. And then NT means they weren't tested because they didn't show mastery here. They weren't given the questions at a higher level. So it lets you know what steps you need to take with them. First, you need to help them understand the basic concept of length. Then you would help them understand how to measure using customary and metric units, then focusing on measuring with customary units, then converting customary units of length, meaning converting from inches to feet, comparing customary units of length, is inches greater than feet or less than, then metric units, then converting metric units. And then finally, what would be at a grade level for them was converting units that require more steps. So you want to build from the basic skills up so that they can address those grade level skills when they come to them. All right, well, thank you so much. If your student has reports in the other areas, which would be phonemic awareness or algebra 1 or pre-algebra, go ahead and let your administrators know that you would like some more information about that, and we can provide that for you. Thank you so much.